My life has been filled with such great irony, I can hardly believe it myself. I was born in Mexico City and I was raised in a bilingual household, but when I came to the United States, even though I had proficiency in English and proficiency in Spanish, my English wasn't quite good enough for the English speakers and my Spanish wasn't good enough for the Spanish speakers. Add to that the fact that I had incredibly flat feet. So flat that I had to wear these gigantic boots that would help me eventually walk correctly. So right off the gate, coming to the United States and attending an American school, I had no real academic ability and I had no real athletic ability. You fast forward decades later, and it would have been a shock to 8-year-old Eric to find out that his profession is to give speeches in front of audiences and to help equip and empower other people to do the same. And while I will not be realizing a dream to be a professional athlete anytime soon, I have worked my entire life to become athletic. I've competed in many track events, half marathons, and now I am an avid CrossFitter. And again, if you would have told me at 8 years old that I would be participating and sometimes excelling in CrossFit, I would have asked, number one, what in the world is CrossFit? And number two, how in the world did that happen? Well, it all comes down to my motto, transforming fear into fuel. This motto really applies to every aspect of my life, but particularly today, I'm going to talk to you about how you can use your speaking fears and transform them into speaking fuel. And there's one secret, one hack that really brings this forward, that brings this strategy to life. And it's this motto: the more uncomfortable it feels, the better it looks. Now, before we move on, let me first define what discomfort is. It's important to note that being uncomfortable does not mean being in pain. Now, very rarely are you going to experience physical pain when public speaking, although some people do experience that high of an anxiety. But most often you will be experiencing discomfort. You don't need to be in pain, meaning you don't need to stay speaking or facilitating a group that is hostile, even abusive. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about those particular situations. What we are talking about is understanding that whenever there is a public presentation, whenever somebody is working to deliver a message, there is a price to be paid. That price can be paid by either the speaker, the deliverer of the message, or by the audience member. I'll give you a great example. I love to move around. I don't know if you've noticed in my videos, but I have a hard time sitting still. In fact, it would be much easier and much more comfortable for me to deliver not just these YouTube videos, but all of my keynote presentations just pacing nonstop in a circle. That's how I do my best thinking. That's how I do my best speaking. However, in a live audience and even in a YouTube video, watching me walk around a room is not necessarily the thing that you want to experience. So I pay the price. I pay the price and discomfort by sitting or standing still whenever I am speaking. Uncomfortable? Absolutely. Are there times when I am uncomfortable sharing something vulnerably to my audience? Without question. Are there times when I am uncomfortable delivering over-the-top facial expressions and high energy? Without question. However, I know that if I don't pay that price, if I don't pay the price and take on the burden of discomfort, my audience will. And if my audience is taking on that price, what that means is that my message is not being delivered. And you have to understand that although I am uncomfortable, it is being received by the audience well. Now, there's something very important to note here, and that's the concept of authenticity. A lot of times when I'm coaching individuals or when I'm giving a speech on this topic, the question will inevitably be raised that, isn't this a little bit inauthentic? If I do big facial expressions, if I project my voice louder, if that's not me, isn't it inauthentic for me to do so? Here's the caveat to that. It's not inauthentic for you to project your voice. It's not inauthentic for you to overly express your facial expressions or stand still. You're simply doing that so that your audience members can receive your message. It would be like saying that it's inauthentic for me to use a microphone in a large stage. Well, my voice doesn't project that loud, so it's inauthentic for my voice for it to be projected by something mechanical. Whenever I am speaking or whenever I am performing, and speaking is a performance, I make it clear in my head that I'm still being who I am. I'm just being a little bit different of a version for the sake of my audience. And if you ever see me on the street or at the CrossFit gym or at Costco or at a park, those are usually the three places that you'll find me, you will find that I am the same off stage as that I am on stage. And that's the key difference. I have unfortunately experienced many speakers who I have interactions with off the stage and then see them perform, and they are literally completely different people. Those aren't performances. Those aren't speeches. Those are acting performances. And that's not what we're going for here. So yes, your speaking will be uncomfortable. In fact, any area in which you hope to grow and hope to serve others will naturally be uncomfortable. But the more uncomfortable it feels, the better it will look for your audience. And that is how we transform fear into fuel. That is why when I accidentally wandered into a speech and debate workshop, and I told this story in a previous video, we'll link it here. It may or may not have been on accident. I started to realize that the tools and strategies of public speaking required me to feel uncomfortable. That's where growth happened. When I dove face first into my fears, and I understood that my greatest treasures are when I do that, when I go face first into my fears, when I embrace them and use them as my strength. So whether it's public speaking, whether it's athletics, whether it's any area of your life, my encouragement to you is to make sure that you are transforming those fears into fuel, that you're not running away from them, but rather that you're running towards them. Now, if you want motivational and inspirational videos like this and content on communication, confidence, and storytelling, make sure that you hit subscribe. And as always, make sure that you take yourself off of mute and speak up your story. We'll see you next time.